Thank you for listening. This course was created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional podcasts, books, newsletters, and cool merchandise await. Let's get started. When we speak about responsible artificial intelligence, we are not simply describing a narrow technical practice. Accuracy, while important, is not enough to capture what it means for AI systems to serve society well. Instead, responsible AI refers to an integrated approach that aligns technology with human values, legal frameworks, and ethical expectations. It involves not only the design of algorithms, but also the governance structures and cultural commitments that shape how they are used. By framing AI responsibility in this way, we acknowledge that organizations must be accountable for more than just performance metrics. They must demonstrate that their systems reflect fairness, protect safety, and foster trust. In short, responsible AI is about aligning outcomes with the needs of people and communities, ensuring that the benefits of innovation do not come at the cost of equity or well-being. One challenge in approaching responsible AI is that no single, universal definition exists. Different institutions emphasize different elements depending on their missions and perspectives. In academic settings, researchers often highlight ethics, focusing on justice, fairness, and human dignity. Industry groups may stress governance or compliance, aligning responsibility with risk management and regulatory expectations. Civil society organizations sometimes frame it as a matter of accountability to communities and individuals. These variations do not mean the concept is incoherent. Rather, they reflect its richness and complexity. What matters is cultivating a shared working language that allows stakeholders to collaborate, even when their starting points differ. For practical purposes, responsible AI should be understood as a multidimensional framework rather than a rigid formula. This flexibility makes it adaptable across sectors, cultures, and use cases, which is crucial in such a rapidly evolving field. Certain dimensions appear consistently, regardless of the definition. Fairness refers to ensuring that outcomes do not systematically disadvantage particular groups, especially those historically marginalized. Transparency emphasizes making models and decisions understandable, whether through documentation, explainability, or disclosure of limitations. Safety highlights the prevention of harm, both accidental and malicious, including protections against misuse. Accountability demands that oversight mechanisms exist, with clear paths for recourse when harms occur. These dimensions provide a scaffold for thinking about responsibility. They are the qualities that transform an algorithm from a clever technical artifact into a trustworthy social system. While none of these alone can guarantee responsible practice, together they form a compass. By measuring progress against fairness, transparency, safety, and accountability, organizations can better assess whether their AI use aligns with societal expectations. The push toward responsible AI has not emerged in a vacuum. Historical drivers include early debates on automation ethics, stretching back to when computers first replaced human judgment in critical systems. The acceleration of machine learning advances in the past 2 decades has magnified both potential and risk. Public backlash against biased algorithms, particularly in areas like policing and hiring, has shown how quickly reputational harm can spread. Regulatory and legal developments, such as data protection laws or emerging AI-specific statutes, have further raised the stakes. Each of these drivers underscores that responsibility is not an abstract aspiration but a concrete response to real-world challenges. The timeline of AI ethics reveals a pattern. Technological leaps bring societal questions, and responsible AI evolves as an answer to those questions, shaped by both opportunity and crisis. To understand responsible AI more clearly, it helps to compare it with other fields that have grappled with similar issues. Corporate social responsibility, for instance, reflects the idea that companies owe more to society than profit maximization. Medical ethics has long articulated principles, such as beneficence, non-maleficence, and informed consent, that balance innovation with patient welfare. Cybersecurity governance emphasizes defense in depth, layered controls, and accountability for system reliability. Each of these traditions offers lessons for AI, the need for safeguards, the importance of transparency, and the recognition of wider social impact. In many ways, responsible AI borrows from all of them, stitching together a cross-disciplinary fabric. Seeing these parallels not only grounds the concept, but also reminds us that responsibility in technology is part of a larger human project, one that has been negotiated across industries and generations. Why, then, does responsible AI matter so much today? The answer lies in the scale and visibility of adoption. Artificial intelligence is no longer confined to research labs. It powers consumer tools, business platforms, and public services. Generative models amplify both promise and peril, capable of producing creativity on demand but also risks at unprecedented scale. Societal dependence on automation grows with each passing year, from finance and healthcare to education and logistics. And when harms occur, they are amplified by media coverage, making failures visible and immediate. The stakes are higher than ever because AI touches more lives than ever. Responsible AI matters because it is the difference between systems that serve humanity and systems that inadvertently undermine it. By emphasizing responsibility, we aim to ensure that the expansion of AI strengthens rather than weakens our collective future. A useful way to make the stakes of responsible AI concrete is to look at hiring algorithms. In recent years, companies have adopted automated systems to screen resumes, rank applicants, and even analyze video interviews. While efficient, these systems have produced discriminatory outcomes, disproportionately filtering out women or underrepresented minorities because of biased training data. The fallout has been swift. Regulators have scrutinized companies, lawsuits have emerged, and reputational damage has spread through media coverage. One lesson from these cases is the critical importance of dataset documentation, knowing what information went into training, where it came from, and what biases it may encode. Transparency, even when imperfect, offers a corrective mechanism. When stakeholders can see how systems operate, they are better positioned to identify problems and push for adjustments. Hiring algorithms serve as a cautionary tale, showing that without responsibility, efficiency can quickly turn into liability. Healthcare provides another vivid case study. Risk prediction tools designed to flag patients for additional care have sometimes underestimated the needs of minority populations, leading to disparities in treatment. The problem was not necessarily the algorithm's math, but the proxy data it relied upon, using past healthcare spending as a signal of need, which embedded existing inequalities into the model. The implications for patient safety were significant, with some groups systematically underserved. This misalignment highlights the urgency of independent review, ensuring that clinical tools are vetted not only for accuracy but for equity. Responsible AI in healthcare means designing systems that advance rather than undermine the goals of public health. These lessons reinforce that responsibility is not abstract theory but a matter of real lives and outcomes, making it one of the most urgent challenges in modern technology. When responsibility is prioritized, the benefits extend far beyond compliance. Trust with users and customers increases as they see systems aligned with their needs and values. Regulatory and litigation risks decrease, since organizations can demonstrate proactive diligence in preventing harm. Adoption becomes more reliable over the long term, as systems that are seen as fair and transparent are less likely to provoke backlash or rejection. Reputation strengthens, which in turn becomes a competitive advantage. In a crowded technology landscape, organizations known for responsible practices differentiate themselves as safer, more trustworthy partners. This reputation may not be captured in quarterly earnings, but over time it becomes a durable asset. Responsible approaches, then, are not simply constraints, they are enablers, creating conditions for sustainable success. The irony is that by slowing down enough to address responsibility, organizations often find they can go farther and faster in the long run. Yet the path is not without obstacles. Organizations often struggle to reconcile the tension between speed and thoroughness, especially in competitive markets where rapid deployment is prized. Oversight requires resources, teams, training, audits that may not be readily available, especially in smaller firms. Assigning responsibility can be ambiguous, with unclear lines between developers, managers, compliance officers, and executives. Cultural resistance is perhaps the hardest barrier, as responsibility often demands changes in mindset and incentives. It requires rewarding caution as well as boldness and collaboration as well as innovation. These organizational challenges are not excuses to avoid responsibility, but they explain why progress can be slow and uneven. Acknowledging them is the first step toward overcoming them, since each obstacle points to an area where leadership, policy, or structural reform is needed. A global view reveals further complexity. In the European Union, regulatory emphasis dominates, with laws like the General Data Protection Regulation and forthcoming AI Act shaping practices. The United States has taken a more sector-based approach, with guidance tailored to finance, healthcare, and defense, rather than sweeping regulation. In the Asia-Pacific region, countries balance innovation with regulation differently, with some emphasizing rapid technological development, while others prioritize strong state oversight. Multinational organizations must navigate this patchwork, ensuring that their AI systems comply with multiple, sometimes conflicting, standards. Coordination across borders becomes not just desirable but essential, especially as AI systems scale globally. Without harmonization, risks emerge of uneven protections, regulatory arbitrage, or conflicting accountability frameworks. Global viewpoints remind us that responsibility cannot be confined to one jurisdiction. It is a collective, worldwide concern that requires shared effort. The narratives around responsible AI are themselves evolving. Early discussions often centered on abstract ethical principles, fairness, justice, beneficence. While valuable, these frameworks sometimes struggle to connect with day-to-day operations. Increasingly, the emphasis has shifted toward operational governance, embedding responsibility into processes, tools, and metrics. Measurable benchmarks now carry more weight than lofty ideals alone, as organizations are expected to demonstrate responsibility in tangible ways. Standards are emerging, from transparency reports to audit protocols, helping define what good practice looks like. This movement reflects a maturing field. Responsible AI is no longer a visionary concept, but an operational requirement. The demand for concrete evidence reports, metrics, certifications signals that responsibility is entering the mainstream, moving from aspiration to accountability. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Users themselves play a crucial role in shaping responsible AI. Too often, responsibility is framed only in terms of developers, regulators, or executives, but end users are direct stakeholders in system outcomes. Their experiences, feedback, and trust or lack of it determine whether an AI system succeeds or fails in practice. Incorporating user feedback loops allows organizations to catch problems early, before harm spreads widely. Informed consent is also vital. Users deserve to know when and how AI systems are involved in decisions that affect them. Disclosure about limitations, biases, and risks empowers people to engage critically rather than passively. In this way, responsibility becomes a shared endeavor, not something imposed from above. The more users are informed and included, the more resilient and trustworthy AI systems become, because responsibility is distributed rather than centralized. From a technical standpoint, responsible AI requires more than good intentions. It calls for concrete practices and tools. Bias measurement tools, for example, help developers assess how systems perform across different demographic groups. Explainability libraries offer insights into why models produce certain outputs, bridging the gap between statistical complexity and human understanding. Security hardening is essential to prevent adversarial misuse, such as manipulation of inputs to produce harmful results. Continuous monitoring for drift ensures that models remain reliable over time. adapting to changing data and contexts. These technical implications demonstrate that responsibility is not separate from engineering, it is embedded within it. Building responsibly means designing with these safeguards from the start, treating them as core requirements rather than optional add-ons. Legal and compliance pressures add another dimension. Data protection laws impose obligations on how training data is collected, stored, and processed. Liability frameworks are emerging to determine who is accountable when AI systems cause harm, whether developers, deployers, or both. Regulators increasingly demand auditability, requiring organizations to produce documentation that shows not just what models do, but how they were built and tested. Assurance documentation certificates, audit trails, transparency reports is becoming standard. These pressures are not simply bureaucratic hurdles, they are mechanisms that reinforce trust and accountability. Organizations that take them seriously position themselves for smoother adoption and reduced risk. In an environment where legal scrutiny is rising, compliance is not just about avoiding penalties, it is about demonstrating credibility and responsibility. Culture within organizations plays as significant a role as tools or laws. The tone set by leadership determines whether responsibility is treated as central or peripheral. When leaders signal that ethical practice is a priority, teams are more likely to embed it in their work. Rituals, such as regular reviews of ethical implications or red team exercises, normalize responsibility as part of development cycles. Incentive structures also matter. When individuals and teams are rewarded for safe practices, responsibility becomes part of organizational DNA. Training programs raise baseline awareness, ensuring that not only specialists but all employees understand the stakes. Culture makes responsibility sustainable. Without it, technical fixes or compliance requirements risk being superficial. Embedding responsibility in culture ensures that it endures even as technologies, teams, and market pressures change. The economic arguments for responsible AI are also compelling. Preventing risks saves costs by reducing the likelihood of lawsuits, recalls, or crisis management expenses. Compliance readiness opens access to markets where regulations would otherwise bar entry. Trustworthiness itself becomes a competitive advantage. Customers increasingly choose products and services from organizations they perceive as safe and fair. Over the long term, brand resilience is built through consistent demonstration of responsibility. While some view responsible AI as a cost center, in reality it is an investment in stability and growth. By integrating responsibility, organizations create conditions where innovation can flourish without fear of collapse from preventable failures. Responsibility is not just the right thing to do, it is often the most economically rational. At the same time, critiques of responsible AI remind us to stay vigilant. Some argue that organizations practice ethics washing, making lofty statements without meaningful action. Others note that commitments may become performative, designed to deflect criticism rather than drive change. Global influence is uneven, with wealthier nations shaping norms that may not reflect the needs of developing countries. Critics also worry that excessive caution could slow innovation, preventing beneficial technologies from reaching society in time. These critiques are not reasons to abandon responsibility, they are reasons to deepen it. By acknowledging risks of superficiality, inequality, or stagnation, organizations can work to ensure that responsibility remains authentic, inclusive, and balanced. Responsibility must be practiced, not just proclaimed, if it is to live up to its promise. Balancing innovation with guardrails is one of the central tensions in responsible AI. Organizations often feel pressure to deploy quickly in order to capture market share or satisfy customer demand, yet speed without oversight can lead to costly missteps. One way forward is through phased release strategies, where systems are introduced gradually, tested in controlled contexts before reaching larger audiences. Regulatory sandboxes provide another model, allowing companies to experiment under supervision while limiting potential harm. Pilot programs serve a similar role, enabling feedback and adjustment before full-scale rollout. Continuous feedback mechanisms, both technical and human, help refine models after deployment, ensuring that responsibility is not a one-time checkpoint but an ongoing process. In this balance, organizations can innovate without recklessness, showing that responsibility and agility are not opposites but complements. Another defining feature of responsible AI is its interdisciplinary nature. No single group has all the expertise required to anticipate and manage the complex effects of AI systems. Technical experts contribute deep knowledge of algorithms and architectures, while social scientists bring insights into human behavior and social structures. Ethicists frame moral questions, highlighting values that might otherwise be overlooked. Engaging directly with affected communities provides a reality check, ensuring that systems align with lived experience rather than abstract assumptions. Bringing together these diverse viewpoints is not always easy. Disciplinary languages and priorities can clash, but it is essential for comprehensive responsibility. Interdisciplinary collaboration ensures that responsible AI reflects not only technical feasibility, but also ethical soundness and social legitimacy. Looking forward, responsible AI appears set to mature further into standardized practices. Independent audits may become routine, with organizations expected to demonstrate compliance through third-party evaluation. Accountability chains, clear records of who made decisions, when, and why, are likely to grow in importance. Global frameworks may begin to converge, with international bodies helping to harmonize approaches across jurisdictions. Tools for compliance checks may become increasingly automated, reducing manual burdens while increasing coverage and consistency. These future directions suggest that responsibility is moving from a voluntary aspiration to a structured expectation, embedded in the lifecycle of AI development and deployment. For organizations and professionals alike, staying ahead of these trends will be critical to maintaining trust and competitiveness. Practical takeaways from this discussion emphasize that responsible AI is a system-level concern, not a narrow technical add-on. While definitions may vary, recurring dimensions like fairness, transparency, safety, and accountability form a common foundation. Organizations that embrace responsibility gain more than they sacrifice. Trust, compliance readiness, and long-term resilience often outweigh short-term costs. The path is not always easy, requiring cultural change, interdisciplinary collaboration, and engagement with legal and technical safeguards. Yet the alternative, unaccountable systems that erode trust and amplify harm is far more costly. Responsibility provides the framework through which I can realize its promise without succumbing to its perils. It is not optional. It is essential for sustainable success in a world increasingly shaped by automation. As this episode concludes, let us briefly revisit the ground we have covered. We introduced responsible AI as an integrated practice that goes beyond accuracy, aligning systems with human values and organizational accountability. We traced its diverse definitions and core dimensions, from fairness to accountability. Historical drivers, case studies, and global viewpoints illustrated why responsibility matters today more than ever. We also examined benefits, challenges, and critiques, showing both the promise and the pitfalls. The overarching message is clear. Responsible AI is both a practical necessity and a moral obligation. By adopting responsible approaches, organizations and professionals not only mitigate risk, but also build trust and resilience. Looking ahead, this series will continue to unpack principles and practices in greater depth. The next episodes will move from conceptual framing into operational principles, offering concrete guidance on how responsibility can be embedded at every stage of the AI lifecycle. As you listen, remember that the knowledge you gain here is not just academic. It is meant to inform your choices, shape your leadership, and strengthen your practice. Responsible AI is a collective endeavor, and by engaging thoughtfully, you become part of the effort to ensure technology serves humanity responsibly. Thanks for tuning in to Bare Metal Cyber, your trusted source for cybersecurity educational materials, news, and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.